So the application that we are going to build today is going to be mainly for EDA. EDA meaning Exploratory Data Analysis. And we are going to get the help of the LLM known as ChatGPT to kind of help us out in our exploratory data analysis. Now, the end result of what this application is supposed to do is when you feed a CSV into this application, you are then able to ask questions about this data. For example, you can ask questions of how many rows there might be. You can ask questions of how many columns are within this data set, what correlations, what outliers are within this data set. And that can help you shape how you are going to proceed in your analysis. So in the beginning, as you can see, we're using the Streamlit package again, pandas, LangChain, tabulate, so forth and so on. And in the third cell, you can see that we're setting up the titles in the description of our application. I'm titling it EDA Assistant, but feel free to title it any way that you see fit. In the header, this is our description. To use this app, you'll need to have an OpenAI API key. Sorry. One thing I want to point out is, again, make sure you do have an OpenAI account that you can generate your own API key with. I believe it is a pay-as-you-go account, so you will need to put in some type of money into it before you can start developing with it. Right here on this cell, we are kind of creating the function that is going to be used to load in that CSV into our Streamlit application for it then to be read and used by our LLM for our EDA. So I want to pay special attention to the expander. Now, I believe this is a Streamlit specific function, but the expander is important because it gives the ability for the user to see the data set that they're working with. Sure, they may be aware of what the CSV looks like, but it gives, I believe, um, analysts and certain users, business users, students, whatever it may be, to see the data again that they're working with so that they're able to ask questions in the UI. And then here's where we're also creating that function to make calls to the API, the ChatGPT OpenAI API, to then get responses back. Now, at the time of this video, I know that OpenAI goes through changes in documentation here and there. There's stuff with AI changing daily, monthly, very frequently. So I would definitely pay close attention to how OpenAI has changed their documentation, and whether the way that I'm writing this code currently, or at the time of this video, is still accurate in terms of what it looks like in OpenAI, OpenAI's own documentation. So yeah, rather than rewriting that whole variable, let's just copy and paste. Nice. And as you can see, this is where we use that load CSV function that we created beforehand for our generate response function. LangChain is a cool package to use. It's very helpful. Highly recommend using LangChain with OpenAI. You can make some pretty cool products, pretty cool applications with it. Um, so yeah, that isn't a sponsor plug, I swear. Um, that's just my own opinion. Nice. Okay. So now that that function is done, we could then move on to bigger and better things, more important things when it comes to uploading the file, shaping the UI, um, and getting things working the way we want it to. So here we are creating that upload a CSV file button. Make sure you set the type as CSV. Now, for Streamlit, you are able to use different types, PDFs, CSVs, text files. Kind of make sure you are setting the file type for whatever application you're trying to build. And like I said in the beginning, I believe I said in the beginning that this application, you are able to set predefined questions as well as custom questions. So here's me kind of writing in a few predefined questions that can be used um, for your own application. Again, you can again make these predefined questions however you want to use them. I looked up online simply kind of what frequent questions do data scientists ask about their data. Um, and these are just two examples that I have. And then we're also going to create an other option. Now, the other option is going to be where the user is going to be able to enter in their own custom query. Okay, nice. We're setting up that selection box. So that in a drop down, they are able to choose a custom question or kind of write their own question, um, use one of our predefined questions, so forth and so on. So this is us asking the user um, to use their own API key um, rather than ours. So the thing is, in order to use the application um, or to use OpenAI's application or API, you're going to have your own API key for the development. But for the user themselves, they will need to enter in their own API key um, to be used when they're trying to derive an answer. And ooh, we got an error. Looks like a misspelling. Yeah, I see it. Yes, make sure all your variables are spelled the same way. Um, use me as an example of what not to do. And make sure you're doing the proper due diligence to um, make the necessary corrections. And so here's us setting up that option to establish that custom query, to establish where a user is able to choose other and input their own query themselves. And here's us making sure that a user enters in the correct API key. So I'm here delineating and stating that um, if the API key does not start with SK dash, issue a warning. Warning the user that maybe they're using the wrong API key, maybe they're missing letters in their API key, something that can kind of make them take a second look uh, and kind of get things figured out on their end. The exclamation point is optional, whether or not you want to yell at a user. Sometimes a user does need a little bit of a yelling, so um, usually I add the exclamation marks to my warning errors, error statements. That's the word I was looking for. Oop, and we got an error. Looks like again, more um, wording errors. Looks like I kind of missed a letter, misspelled something again. Thinking. Uh, okay. There we go. And here we go. So this is the clean version of the code, and let's kind of deploy it and see what it looks like when it's completed. And let's let it run for a while, give it some time, a few seconds. Here we go. Beautiful. To use this app, you will need to have an OpenAI key. Please use this site to sign up. I forgot to include the link. Oh well, we'll be alright. Maybe in another video I'll show you how to include links. Let's try this CSV. I did add some more questions to mine. But again, feel free to add or use less questioning. It's up to you. Here's me entering the API key, or my own API key. And this is where I was saying where the C data frame output is beneficial, right? You kind of want to know what questions to ask when it comes to your data, um, and kind of get a look at your data while you're reading kind of the summary statistics, maybe the patterns that might be expressed, stuff like that. Let's ask another question. Correlation. I think correlation is very important. Um, if you're familiar with statistics, I think it's causation doesn't equal correlation. Very, very important point. Nice.